Whoop. It's not, the video's not working today. I don't know what to do.
Hey,
we're just going to take this.
You know what? We need to fire our producer, Damon.
That producer,
done, right?
Yes, we're getting a new producer. I'm telling you that right now. But welcome, everyone. It is Friday, and what's that mean? It means it is time for Manufacturing E-Commerce Success. I am your co-host, and yes, I am the producer that didn't do that right. My friend right over there, Kurt Anderson. Well, let's see, wrong way. There we go.
One of these ways, I don't know.
One of these ways, you know, we were talking about that before we got on this morning. My friend Kurt Anderson with me today. We're going to be talking about developing content that attracts your ideal buyers. Oh my goodness. Take it away, Kurt.
Dude, hang on. I've got to check my pacemaker first, make sure that it's working properly for this guest, because man, is she something special. My dear friend, Wendy Covey, happy Friday. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Now, you know what, Wendy, I have to question you on one thing, just one thing only. I have to question your judgment of character, because you are a repeat offender on Manufacturing E-Commerce Success. So apparently we didn't do anything too god awful on the last round, and you've come back a number of months later. So we thank you, we salute you, we applaud you, and what an honor and privilege to have you here today. I want to kick things off with a couple things. First off, you and I have met in person, and I know pre-COVID you're like, hey, what's the big deal? But during COVID, that was so special. I'll tell you, you are a powerhouse. You are a presence. I caught you speaking in live at the Industrial Marketing Summit in Cleveland. And just let's start there first, okay? Let's start a little bit. When you and I met in Cleveland, what a special event. Can you just talk about that event and your engagement with you and Morgan, your colleague, your partner in crime? You guys did a great workshop. Talk about Cleveland for me, please.
Yeah. Well, content marketing world is just a really cool event. It's very focused for marketers on how to utilize content to build trust and engage your audience and, churn out those qualified leads for sales, right? So already it was this, great environment for sharing best practices, that sort of thing. But then having this one-day event just for industrial marketers was so special. And many of us had connected over the past few years that had never met in person. So there was just this extra special oomph with that event. So not only were we talking relevant information with, technical marketer to technical marketer, but also sort of this community kumbaya moment where, wow, I finally get to meet you in person, and wow, you're so tall, or you're so short, or, all those surprise things that you have when you first meet someone that you've just had an online relationship with. So
yeah, when I first met Kurt, I thought he was like, 4 inches tall.
Yeah.
Right?
How the heck?
Yeah, what's going on? And for the record, Wendy, you are tall. So you are, I might have you by an inch or two, but not by much. How can I ask, how tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 5'9".
You're 5'9". So you are a presence. And so let's go here. Like you did, man, I'll tell you, anybody out there, first off, happy Friday, everybody. Yes. As you're popping in, chiming in, drop us a note here. Let us know that you're out there. We've got my dear friend Val. We've got Gary in Rochester. Whitney is here, down a fellow Texan. We have a fellow Texan
from Sugarland.
And so, Wendy, I want to go there for a minute. You did, if you recall, you did a great workshop. Everybody would love to have been there. You're really a captivating speaker. If anybody's out there has a conference, workshop, you need a great speaker on high-level content marketing, which, hey, I'm no dummy. We're bringing you to Purdue University this week, so we're going to talk about that today. But just talk a little bit about the workshop of what you and Morgan did that day. It was just so rewarding hearing you guys.
Yeah. Well, a lot of marketers struggle with, they know that content marketing is an important thing, but the idea of, how do I plan out my content? How do I develop a strategy? And then how do I figure out what to write? And how do I tie that to my brand? And then, of course, where do I go with this content? So once I have it written, how do I promote this and, package it into the world? So it was a pretty ambitious presentation, but we touched on all of those things. So from what type of framework and tools people can use to develop their content strategy, to what do I do with writer's block, and how do I write in a way that's going to be compelling to my target personas. And then we presented some of our research on where technical buyers go to seek information to make purchase decisions. And so people have an informed strategy and they're not guessing, on, which social channel might be the best, or will they open Google ads or not? Or should I despair if I'm on page 6 of the search results on Google? So those are the types of things we touched on.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dig in here. So we've got some people dropping hellos again, guys. Drop a hello. So I wanted to wait a minute, Damon, before we do this. Now, with Wendy being a repeat offender, Wendy, I don't know if you remember when you were on last. There's a question I ask when we kick off every program. So I want to do a quick little intro. Wendy Covey here, president, co-founder of TREW Marketing, and you are an absolute rock star. Founded the company in 2008, right when the Great Recession started. 15 years later, still going strong. I want to dig into the TREW crew, your team. We just had Morgan Norris here 2 weeks ago. I want to dig into your team. You were just at a great trade show this week. I want to dig into that. But the first question I asked when you were on stage last time was, who was your hero growing up? And I have your answer. Do you remember your answer by any chance?
I do remember my answer.
Mr. Leonard Smith. Do I have that correct?
Yes, that's correct. My dad. Yeah.
So Damon, I just want to refresh this story. So this was just a great story. Dad was a civil engineer. Do I have that correct? And did like a midlife change. And so I asked, who was your hero? You said it was my dad, Leonard Smith. So once again, I want to give a shout out to your dad. And it was just, he became a professor, right? Was it a math professor at Texas A&M?
Yeah, of construction science, actually, at Texas A&M. Yeah.
All right. So it took like a real midlife career, and it was hysterical because you're like, my other hero, Mom, said, no, I don't think so. But Dad, so anyway, great story. So you shared with your hero his dad, Leonard. Damon, I've never asked this question. I'm going to put a spin on it. Okay. And I'm not sure how it's going to go. So we're going to see how it goes, Damon.
Let's see it.
Wendy, who are you a hero to?
Oh my goodness.
Who are you a hero to? Where if I were to say, like, who's your hero? And they said, oh, well, of course it's Wendy Covey. Family, friends, colleagues, coworkers, employees, like who do you, and we're speaking here in humility. It's not, this isn't about ego.
I was going to say, I don't know if I'm comfortable answering this.
Who do you, let me spin it. Who do you feel that you, and I know you do, you do a great job with the equestrian, what is it? That the community that you worked on, we talked about that deep, but like, who do you feel that you bring an impact to? How about that? Is that a better, safer question? Who do you feel that you bring like heavy impact to?
Let me put it this way. Who I hope to have that influence on, right, is going back to, this community of marketers, right? We're all in a pretty tough industry where, you don't have an engineering degree. Oh, you can't do this. Right. You can't possibly understand what I do and help me succeed. Right. And so there's a lot of barriers to overcome as a non-technical person in this field, as well as, women in this field, right, are still catching up in many ways. And so what I hope to be is a positive influence and help inspire other marketers that feel alone, they don't feel confident, and to help them understand that you can develop that business acumen and you can hang with the engineers when it comes to your marketing expertise and adding value to a company, helping them grow. So that's who I hope to inspire with what we're doing at TREW. And people will say, well, oh, wow, you're having other agency owners on your show. Don't you feel like that's competitive? And I'm like, oh my gosh, people, there is a big world out here that we can serve. And I just love that a lot of the other agency owners like me are very open to having a collaborative approach and sharing what's working and, just all being one family out here trying to make manufacturing better when it comes to marketing. And there's enough business for all of us for sure. So that collaboration to me is very important.
Man,
there's lots of awesome stuff in there. Oh my
Drop-
goodness.
That was a drop the mic moment. We had lots
Yeah.
of drop the mic moments last time you were on, Wendy, and so that was drop the mic number one. So again, like Damon and I are big girl dads, and I'll tell you, and I'm not just saying this, like one big reason I love what we do and why we're so passionate about this show is like when I collaborate, I feel we've built a nice friendship since we've come together. And again, we were talking about the industrial marketing program. I see Andrew's here, Andrew Hood, and Andrew Hood he's the reason why we met in Cleveland. But I'll tell you, you are an inspiration. You are a hero. And so like for those of us that have daughters that can look up to somebody like you, started a company in 2008, right during the Great Recession. You've built into this wonderful company. So again, thank you for being an inspiration. And you are modest, you are humble, but you are a hero to plenty. And I love, let's continue the torch right there. You're talking about like, how do you help people reduce that overwhelm, that challenge, those manufacturers that you help on a daily, regular basis. Let's keep going there. So we have a bunch of marketers here. Whitney's here, Val, Diane Byer, happy Friday. Like how, if there's a marketer out there, they're the solo marketer and everything's on their plate. How do you, let's go there. How does your team come in and help those folks?
Yeah, it's very common to have a solo marketer and that being the situation. And it can feel like a really lonely place because, marketing is always changing. There's so many innovations in our field right now, and it's difficult to keep up with that. It's difficult to keep up with your own company, and it's shifting, business environment, new products, it's technical. And if you're that one, sole marketer that doesn't have a technical background, sometimes it's hard to feel appreciated within your own company. You don't have mentorship within your own company when it comes to marketing. So there's a lot of headwinds. And so what we try to do is just continue to share our knowledge and what we're learning so that solo marketer can come to my podcast, read our guides and our ebooks, and just feel like you have information and get you a little further faster. But then for those solo marketers that actually need hands-on help, we'll come in and basically supplement their in-house expertise. So it might be they're excellent at a database marketing and social media, but they don't have the time or the skills to write. So we'll come in, help them build a content marketing strategy, and then we'll take on that writing piece. And, maybe there's other parts of marketing that they don't have the aptitude to do. So basically that solo marketer can tap into my team as their extended marketing team, where they get a fractional marketing automation person and a fractional social person and a fractional strategist. So, and it looks a little different from company to company because every skill set of that solo marketer is a little different.
That's right. So, all right, let's talk about the TREW crew. Okay. You've just built, what a powerhouse team that you've built, guys. And what I did is I dropped your website into the chat earlier this morning. Wendy just mentioned she has this phenomenal podcast, Content Marketing Engineered. She has a great book, I believe, by the same title, right? Content Marketing Engineered. If you go to Wendy's website, what I love about the TREW crew is like a lot of marketers, will call themselves like, hey, we're the cobbler's kid with no shoes. Wendy and her team, boy, they don't talk the talk. They walk the walk. There are guides. There are resources. I have a couple that we're going to talk about in a few minutes here. But if you go to Wendy's website, and again, I dropped it in the chat earlier, I encourage you, invite you, welcome you to do so. There's just such a wealth of information. But Wendy, let's talk about just this Hall of Fame team that you've put together.
Well, I tell you, it is difficult to find talented, sharp people that also have experience working in our technical space. So we're always looking for talent. And when it comes to writers, sometimes we use a strategy where we actually have a bench of writers that we're trying out. I call it like, you have your minor leagues and your major leagues.
Yeah.
And so
there you go.
we have enough business, we can call up from our bench and hire.
Nice.
And so that's one way we found success. And I think another way is just we eat our own dog food is what we like to say. So we try out things. So right now, one of the things we're trying out is LinkedIn newsletters. We have our own newsletter that we always do to our own database. And we thought maybe we need to move this to LinkedIn. We see other people doing that. Let's try both. Let's measure it. Let's see if this is something we should recommend to our clients. So we're always trying to try out things ahead of just before we say, oh, this is a trend. Hey, client, you should do this. Let's really dig in and understand all the nuances of it.
Absolutely love it. So, eat your own dog food, eat your own bait. We'll talk about fishing in a minute, but all right. So let's go here. You were at a great trade show this week. I saw that you posted a few things on LinkedIn and a lot of excitement, and again, back to that in-person interaction, friends, relationships that you're building. What went on at the show last week?
Yeah, so it was the Electronics Representatives Association, and they have a conference every year. And that sounds like it's just a conference of firms that do sales in electronics, but it was actually much broader than that. You have, the manufacturers, sales representatives, and distributors that were all gathered together in Austin, right in my backyard last week. And so there are about 700 attendees. And it was just a good reminder of how important it is as a marketer to get out to technical conferences and get in the mindset of the business owners, the sales reps. What are they struggling with as they target design engineers in sales engagements? What do they think about marketing? What are their opinions on social media? So a lot of repetitive themes kept coming up in each of these sessions that we can get into if you'd like. But the other thing I learned was just what are the big trends for the future in electronics? And that helps me guide my own business. And it gives a lot of helpful information for our clients as well.
So and go there. Like anything that you want to dig into.
What came up?
Bring the show to us. Like what were some of the hot topics that were going on?
Yeah. Well, so macro trends. So they had two presenters. Michael Knight, who's a longstanding electronics executive, presented on just where electronics is going. And he talked about this connected world and how obviously, we're becoming more and more connected. And he gave the example of the automobile and, think about how many sensors are in your car now. And he goes, now think about how much data a day our cars are pumping out, just your car. And that data needs to be stored. It needs to be processed. And he said, man, every time there's a stock dip, I'm buying data storage. Well, that's interesting. He talked about robotics and automation and how, we don't have enough workers to do jobs. And so it's inevitable that we're going to see more automation and more robots in places that you don't expect today. And so he gave some examples like, the waiter that would bring you your dish at dinner is a robot in more and more cases. Or instead of a worker out in the field plucking those strawberries, that's going to be a robot. So we talked about that. 3D printing came up. Robotics assisted surgery, which is obviously a reality today. It just went on and on. Oh, energy storage. So think, we have solar capabilities, but storing that energy has been a problem. So how can we store that energy better out in the field and then distribute that energy? So it was all over the place. But the point is, the future of the electronics industry is very exciting. There's a lot of demand. We're getting over the supply chain issues now and getting to a better place there. So it was just cool, and he shared growth numbers, and I don't remember them all at this point, but that
is very interesting.
Yeah.
So that is fascinating. And so he did at that show mention that there are positive signs on supply chain.
Yes, absolutely. Things are loosening up, looking way, way better. Yep.
What's the date here? Let's check March 9th, 2023, maybe, and we're starting to see I've been starting to see some plugs like, the labor shortage is starting maybe to, get a little bit settled, and maybe supply chain. So maybe we're starting to get on the other side of this. Yes. So some really positive things. Wendy, the fascinating thing is like, as a journalist or, marketer per se, it could be like a couple 100 years ago, 100 years ago, we could go back in time where a lot of those practices are still the same. It still comes down to consumer behavior, right? However, any takeaways that you want to share when you hear automation, 3D printing, robots feeding us our dessert or plucking the strawberries? as a marketer, what were I'm positive your wheels were turning. What were some of the things that you were thinking?
Absolutely. Well, and he sorted it into like the underlying technologies and then how those technologies are applied. And so I'm not really doing his speech justice, but it reminded me of a lot of companies and those listening, maybe a part of that, where say you're at a semiconductor chip company and you have a lot of different applications that you can serve, right? So there's this need for this horizontal marketing of, we have this chip and here are the specs and here, all the information about that product itself. But then you have to layer onto that this vertical marketing to inspire and say, look at all the different things you can do with this chip. So with this functionality, you can solve X, Y, and Z. And so as a marketer, I'm always looking for, okay, we probably need that product launch, that horizontal campaign, but then separately, let's layer on those verticals. Okay, which verticals are most important to our business in 2023? Where are we, putting our bets on as far as company growth? And those are the things we need to dig into as we start to develop campaigns for marketing.
Absolutely love that. I'm just taking some notes now.
Yeah.
Before we went live, I don't know if we're ready to go here. AI is a huge buzz right now. And so again, if you're just joining us, I want to give a huge shout out. Everybody's dropped a note in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, man. And if you are familiar with Wendy is an absolute powerhouse. Looks like somebody dropped a note that she was somebody was at your breakout. That was great.
Yeah, it was Zach Nelson.
Zach, right?
Zach.
Hey, Zach, happy Friday. And guys, if you haven't caught Wendy live, she is just a dynamo. As a matter of fact, I have the honor of being on stage with her this coming Thursday at the Purdue University MEP Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I dropped that link in the chat. We'll talk about that further. But let's dig into the AI conversation. I think Morgan, your partner in crime, your employee, right? She was on our show a couple weeks ago. Nicole Donnelly was replacing me that day, and they had a really fun conversation about AI and Chat GPT. We're the TREW crew. Where are you guys at with this whole transformation going on?
Yeah, we're getting a ton of questions about it. And I would say that Chat GPT came up in about 40% of the sessions we attended last week. So everyone's curious. Everyone is, having it create a song or poem or, experimenting, right? Typing their own names in to see what happens. So we think all that curiosity is great. But where we stand on it is that it's an excellent brainstorming tool. It's an excellent way to overcome that blank page syndrome, right? Those are some great ways to use it. So it can get you further faster. It can get you unlocked. So for sure, that stuff is great. Where we're seeing some companies struggle, and I'll just hit a couple of high points, is one, for deeply technical subjects, there may not be a lot of information published. And you may, and I heard this the other day on my podcast, this hasn't published yet, but it really stuck with me. I was speaking with someone from Edmunds Optics, and he said, what we found is our competitors' information kept coming up when we searched this technical topic because there was so little information on there, and or it was inaccurate, so that's one of the traps. Right. Another one that Morgan likes to talk about, because she's our brand guru, is that it's purposely trying to not bring your brand messaging and the words you use to describe your company into those answers, because it's trying to not plagiarize. But you need your brand voice, right? You need it to sound like you, and you need to repeat those important words and phrases. So there's just a lot of hands-on work that needs to happen with generative AI. I think it'll get better. I think these tools like Jasper and Writer are much better than ChatGPT if you're looking to, have a writing buddy to assist you. And so we see a bright future for it. But I think for now, use it with caution, use it with your thinking cap on, and which I think marketers are doing. What I didn't like that I heard in that conference last week is, it can write your whole website, it can write your LinkedIn for you. Okay, do you trust a robot to Kurt Anderson's LinkedIn is gonna, like, a robot's gonna
well, it might be, in that case, it might be better, but Damon, what
well, and the thing it can't do, it can't sound like you, right? Because I've played with it a lot, right? I've got in there and
tell me,
read the articles and was really trying to do it. And what I find is you have to take, if you really want to use this great writing buddy, like you said, just to kind of get your head going in the right direction. But you're going to put in several versions of the same sentence topic because we think the way we do, right? And we don't have enough description around it to really give it what it needs. So you have to go in multiple layers to really get kind of what you want. And then you're going to have to do a lot of work from there.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of work, and that work adds up. So, and I don't know if Morgan discussed this, but we ran a pilot and with several different types of content. And we found that the work was so great and it just, it didn't save time, unfortunately. So, what I hope we're very hopeful that the next iteration will be good for derivative content. Like, here's my white paper. Now, would you spit out 3 blog posts and some social copy and some headlines that are written in this tone, using this language, but start with my source material.
Right.
That would be awesome.
That'd be really efficient. And I don't know. All right. So crystal ball, Damon and Wendy, I'm putting you on the spot. We have our little 5-year anniversary. We come back in time, or is like, what is AI? Like, is it crushing it? Is this a fad? Like, what? I'm a history buff, and like, you can find names of people who are like, this horseless carriage is never gonna work. This there's a name escapes me. Gentleman came out like when Apple came out. Nobody will ever use a computer in a home. That is just ridiculous. Like Google, what's this Google thing? That Google thing's never gonna, it's a fad, right?
Wait, like Larry David and
Larry David
and Bitcoin or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. So like, is this, Damon, remember like Clubhouse, that was like the big buzz.
What? Yeah.
Remember like Clubhouse was like a big fad, or like, I don't know where that's at anymore, but Wendy, what do you think? If we come back 5 years from now, to throw in, like, be a little daring, where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think it is here to stay. I think it truly will save time. That example I just gave you, and we can think of many more examples where we think it'll be helpful. But I do believe it's going to usher in this new era of authenticity in video. Like, how do I know it's you and not a robot? And so I think video is going to become huge because, right, we know that isn't a Wendy the robot sitting here. It's Wendy the person speaking to you live,
right?
Whether it's live or recorded. So and then attribution is this messy thing that I think will have to be sorted out. And then finally, Google, I think, is going to punish. I'm just my guess. There's a reckoning coming with AI generated content. So it's going to be more this background thing, not this, let's just hand it all over to the robots. It's going to be an assist.
You make a great point on video. I never thought of that because, there's the AI tools now that you can put text in and it'll take somebody and make it look like they're doing the video for you, right?
Yeah.
But you can't do, how hard would it be to be as goofy as someone like me on video and talking with AI text behind? I don't even know.
I mean, right?
Maybe it'll happen.
Your shirt, but I mean,
So you know what? So let's go there, Wendy. I couldn't agree with you more. So like the folks at YouTube or I don't know, TikTok, like all the video providers are like just loving this because like for true authenticity, Damon, you have your Faces of Business that you do twice a week. Wendy, you have a great podcast. We do this show here. So like that authenticity cannot be replaced. Okay. So like, again, like I'm not going to predict this. I don't know where this, I don't know if it's going to blow up or if it's going to blow up in, this way or this way. Right.
Yeah.
So Wendy, let's talk about, let's go into video. How important video is, what you're doing for your clients, what you're doing at TREW. You have a great podcast. Zach, our friend here today, he dropped a note in the chat earlier about, hey, I believe, Zach, if I have it correct, like you're a new marketer at a marketer at a new company for him, and he wants to double down on video. So what advice, suggestions, where are you taking people on video?
Yeah. There's so many layers to this, right? So, and to give a little context. So when Zach and I were at ERA last week, there was a lot of talk on, how to use video on social in one of the sessions. And Jordan Yates from Knowles Precision Devices. So I swear I'm going to come back on top. This is on topic.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good.
But she's an engineer that's a marketer, and she wanted to build credibility for herself and gain a following. And so she was tinkering around on the weekends with soldering, and she started creating all these videos about soldering. And her previous company was related to that, I believe, somehow. And anyway, and all these people were really interested in seeing her struggle, and they were, cheering her on or making fun of her soldering or a little bit of both. And then she went over to Knowles, and it was not really as core to what she does at Knowles. So she stopped doing the videos a couple months, and everybody was like, "Hey, Jordan, where'd you go? Like, what, what happened?" And so it was a good, I guess maybe soft, but a good ROI on what, is this doing anything? Are people watching this? And so people enjoyed that. They got to know her, and now she's mixing that in with things she does for Knowles. And so it was a great example of utilizing video as a spokesperson, kind of at a grassroots level. And I think we can all wrap our heads around that pretty easily and think about maybe ways we could do that. But then where companies are struggling on, let's say, the professional side is, when do I do a slick video? When do I do this sort of engineer in front of the camera, holding a product?
Yeah.
Or presenting or doing a 2-minute demo on software. I think that seems pretty clear, like the how-tos that can be like rough and easy to do. But when do you step it up? When do you have an executive involved? When do you bring in that camera crew? And so I think that was Zach in his comment was struggling with, how do I know what level, how often, and what level to tackle this? Yeah. And so my answer to that, Zach, is I would start with, okay, what are your goals? What is your strategy? What campaign is this attached to? So it always comes back to your strategy. Okay, is thought leadership a big marketing goal for you? And you want to put your executive out there as a thought leader in the community, or maybe your company is a thought leader on, topic X. On reconfigurable IOs or something. Okay. So then with that context, if you're trying to influence masses with this big topic, it might make sense to make a slick video, right? Or it might make sense to do an explainer that has words flying in and is a little more slick. But instead, if you are launching a product and you're trying to do how-tos and help people understand how it works and how to interact with it, that's a very different video. And I would argue maybe a different production value that would be required. So there's video at every level, right?
Video at every level. Now you have I'm sorry, Damon, go ahead.
Well, and I think too that a lot of companies jump to think that they need that high quality video to get started. And I really think that from my own experience, this kind of video that's just kind of, you learn as you go a little bit,
right?
Doing some of that before you move into the, bringing in the camera crew and everything is a lot, because there's so much about just what do you do when you're on camera? How do you speak? There's all these things that you can work on. How do we want it to sound? What is our voice is a huge thing. And does it come through in the videos to do that before you move into that? And I've seen a couple clients in the past that have done that too early, and they really don't understand their brand and their voice well enough, but they got this video that turns out like they're trying to sell something, right? Rather than really connect with the people that they're helping.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I've always thought, and it could be wrong, 100% wrong, is that you start out simple and kind of figure things out in your mind it's got to be the whole marketing's got to be figured out before you go into the high production value things.
Yeah. I like that. And we've asked before, we do this annual research called State of Marketing to Engineers. And last year, I believe it was, we did ask, what types of video technical buyer, do you enjoy watching? And the least favorite is that slick corporate overview. And I bet you're not surprised, right? Not surprised. Yeah. So the top ones were how-to, and then the second one I think was product or service overviews. So just help me learn, so definitely more emphasis on that. And I think, Damon, what a great point that you could practice your voice and understand who's going to be a good speaker. Even, just because they're an executive doesn't mean they're the best person to put in front of that camera either.
All right. So guys, so we're past the top of the hour. If you just joined us again, I see Ingor joined. The chat box is going great. I saw Whitney said that she knows Jordan Yates, and so that was cool. She met her at a Women in Manufacturing conference or get together. So Texas, Whitney says slick videos are the least favorite. That's fire. Another mic drop there. So Wendy, man, we've got so much to cover. And what I'm going a little off script of what I was planning, but I want to take it a little further with the video strategy. Okay. Now, again, guys, if you just joined us, we're here with Wendy Covey, TREW Marketing founder, just rock star extraordinaire. She has a podcast. She has a book. We're going to be at Purdue this week doing it. Like, if you're not getting enough of Wendy right now, come back to Purdue.
Come back for more.
Come back for more. I got their website in the chat earlier, and they have you have the Marketing Resource Center. And what I love about you practicing what you preach, Damon, what we talk a lot about with manufacturers, like, instead of outspending the competition, how do you out teach the competition? And I feel like that falls right in your alley. Let's talk about consistency. Okay. If I just put out a video today, or I put out a podcast and I do it twice and I throw it out, and hey, I blogged once, talk to the crowd. How critical is consistency? Please go there.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many things I can say right now.
Say it all. Say it. My pen's ready. Say it all.
Why, one, taking a step back, why are we publishing content to begin with? What's the purpose? Right. We're trying to build trust. We're trying to give our credibility to our brand. We're trying to hopefully be generous with our knowledge so that people trust us, they prefer us, they come back and learn from us. Because as we know in this industry, there's a long sales cycle, and people may not be ready to buy. They may not be at that place, or even if they are, design wins and production wins. If you're in that electronic space, for example, it's just really long. So staying in front of them with fresh content will help you stay top of mind. And boy, there's just probably unlimited things you can talk about when you really dig into each application that you serve and the industry that you serve. And the more specific you can be, the closer you can come to speaking to that pain point or showing an example that's close to what that engineer is doing, the more you'll resonate, right? And the greater chance of being shortlisted. But there's this other benefit, which is for SEO. I mean, I hate to say we want to do things for SEO, but Kurt, right? SEO is kind of important, right?
You got to stop being the best kept secret, right?
Yeah. And without consistency, you're dead in the water when it comes to search engines. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I'm a fan of John Maxwell. If you ever read, guy has 100,000 books, whatever he's written, New York Times bestseller. He asked these three things. And so it's when somebody engages with you for the first time, and think about, like, your website, your social media, your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, wherever your folks are hanging out at, those ideal personas, you have one chance to make a great first impression. One chance. And if your website, your presence, your blog is something that you threw on AI, or your website looks like, your nephew, niece threw it up, from 10 years ago, I'm being cliche, but hopefully, like, we're getting past that. But you really, like you're saying, Wendy, you have one chance. And so John Maxwell says this. They did this big research thing. They base a decision on three things. Your ideal customer is asking this. Number one, do you care? Do I really sincerely feel like you care about me? Number one. Number two, can you really help me? Can you honestly, do you have the experience, the wherewithal, the machinery, the equipment, technical experience? In Wendy's case, like, she's helping engineers to stop being the best kept secret. Can you help me? And number three, you just said it repeatedly. Do I trust you?
Yeah.
So like you really have, and so let's go back to your website. You have a blog post, you didn't know I was going to ask you this, but if this,
There you go.
I think you just put it out recently. 6 reasons to outsource your marketing to a B2B marketing agency. So I know like that, with that title, it's like, hey, hey, why should I align with?
Yeah.
And if you guys missed it earlier, please go back and hit replay. But we talked about your crew, your expertise, and the value that you bring in helping your clients. But why should a small manufacturer align with a B2B marketing firm? Let's go there for a little bit.
Yeah, well, a lot of times people will call because they're very frustrated. They've worked with maybe a local agency that, oh, it's so nice. They're around the corner. They can pop into the office, but they don't understand what we
Yeah.
do. And we've tried to have them write content, and it's not just the local people. It may be these big content houses that just write really cheap content no matter what. And it really, this audience acts differently, right? And this industry is unique. I truly believe that. And so working with an agency, whether it's us or my other colleagues in this industry that understand these buyers, understand how important it is to get the vernacular right, and all the acronyms, and just be accurate. I mean, if you're not accurate with this audience, with technical buyers, talk about losing trust. And you lose trust very fast. So we've just seen a lot of people be frustrated on the content side. And then separately, are you being strategic about your marketing? And I think there's too many marketers out there, not marketers, but I'll say agencies that are really, we're a web firm, but we're going to pretend to also be a content firm or marketing strategy or branding. But under the hood, you see that, yeah, they're really good at building websites, but they don't know the first thing about marketing.
Right.
So, so that's important. And then I think the final thing is for those lone marketers to just feel like you're advancing your own skill set and that you're not alone. And oftentimes we'll come in and validate what that internal marketer has been saying to leadership all along, but it takes that third party partner to be like, yeah, what he said or what she said. I mean, yeah, now let's do this. And we've had a lot of success collaborating in that manner.
Well, I love that. And as I mentioned earlier about like, how do you out teach the competition? Guys, go to TREW Marketing. You're going to see courses. You're going to see all sorts of guides. Wendy has tons of podcasts where she's interviewing other high level subject matter experts. And like you even said, like you're interviewing competitors, like there's, plenty to go around, but just like, you're just relentlessly delivering value for that manufacturer who is like, you know what, we encounter a lot of, say, manufacturers that are a little bit resistant. But so for the manufacturers, like, hey, Wendy, I'm all in. Like, we'd like to do webinars. We'd like to create these guides. We're just not sure where to start. Could you kind of help us get off how do we get off the runway? Let's go there. Like, how do you help those folks be those educators?
Yeah. So it starts with creating a marketing plan. I mean, you need, and a marketing plan is not an Excel spreadsheet with lists of activities. And I know every marketer on this call knows that, but we're all kind of laughing because we've seen it so many times. So there's 2 key pieces, right? It's creating that marketing plan where you have goals that tie to the business and campaigns that are defined as integrated set of activities towards a common goal with KPIs. And then you get into your persona development, and then you get into activities, later on down the line. And so that's the key piece. And then the other one is brand positioning and messaging. So to what Damon said earlier, if you don't know who your target personas are, if you don't know who you are as a brand and what your differentiator is and what your value proposition is, you shouldn't do anything else. You shouldn't touch content, do anything else until you define that. Because that messaging should be pulled downstream into every piece of content that you write and every page that you develop on your website. So that's really where it starts, is those 2 things, depending on what the company needs. And then from there, we get into execution. And that usually looks first like a lot of content development and maybe a website redesign. And then we launch campaigns and, get into inbound and outbound activities.
Now, did Professor Leonard Smith have anything to do with you being such a dedicated educator for your clients? Like, was that influence there, or how did you become such just a raving fan of like educating your clients?
I want to credit Rebecca Geyer, who is my co-founder of TREW Marketing,
Mm.
and very early on, she felt strongly about education and said, and I'll never forget, we're barely making any money as a business, right? Barely turning profit, barely paying ourselves, and she goes, "I'm going to write a book." I was like, "You're what?" And I'm in charge of
Yeah.
sales, and she's doing service delivery. It's just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
two of us and a handful of other people, and we're like, a book. I thought she was crazy. But she felt so strongly in the idea of educate, show the playbook, show everything. And
Mm-hmm.
people could go do it themselves, but they
Yes.
quickly understand that, oh, these people really know what they're doing. They have a methodology. Better to hire them to do it. But now I understand in depth every step that they'll be taking, the journey that they'll be taking me
Mm-hmm.
on. And that was so wonderful.
Yeah.
So I've just tried to emulate that ever since. Yeah. 15
Awesome.
years later.
Well,
That's
15
awesome.
years later. So, guys, I want to be mindful of Wendy's time. We're going to start winding down. We've got great comments in the chat box. Hey, Nicole Donnelly is here. She says, Wendy's the rock star. We've got Whitney's dropping comments. And, I want to hit Ronald Hicks has a comment. I love the message, but it sounds really expensive for a startup. I'll tell you firsthand, I'm a solopreneur, and when COVID hit, Damon, you and I connected. We're like, dude, what do we do? And so like we put together this little fun webinar. It didn't cost me a penny. I threw it on Google Slides, and we just, we really built I think a decent business based on a webinar. But Wendy, what do you say to like, say the startups are, 5-person, 10-person manufacturing shop. They don't have the internal marketer. Any advice or suggestions on like, we're not trying to eat the whale. Maybe we'll talk about fishing before we let you go. But how do you talk to that individual marketer there, that startup?
Yeah, no, it is an investment, and it is not a short-term thing to do marketing right. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So one, I like to always get company executives first in the mindset of think of this as another salesperson. If your website could serve and your content on your website can serve as another salesperson, what is that worth to you? How much is that next sales hire going to cost?
Yep.
And consider that next sales hire is really your website and the content on it. The second piece of advice is if it feels overwhelming and you need to start small, I would pick one campaign. So pick one persona or one vertical area and just do that one really well. Create your content, launch it, follow that playbook, grab my book, Content Marketing Engineer, it walks you through how to do it. Use that, do a DIY approach, start to see results, measure things, and then maybe you'll be ready for that next level investment.
Absolutely. How about, hey, Damon, how about this?
Our
dear friend Val has a signed copy of Rebecca's book. And so all sorts of great comments. That is just what phenomenal advice, guys. And as we start winding down, man, I got to check my pacemaker again, make sure it's going okay for you, Wendy. But all right, hey, just a little preview. What can we expect on Thursday at Purdue University when you're just going to be rocking it out, helping folks? What little preview for everybody?
Yeah, so we'll be utilizing the State of Marketing to Engineers report. So I'll be walking through that research and my take on it. I'm bringing in research from a few other reports, and we'll be having a lot of free-form discussion like this. So, for instance, podcasts is something that engineers are now listening to weekly for their jobs. Does that mean you should go start a podcast? Maybe not.
Yeah.
So, here's the data. What are the implications? And then if you're new to marketing or behind, where can you go to get started? So we're going to go into more depth about what that marketing foundation looks like and just how to get going.
Awesome. All right. I have two last questions. One's going to be around fishing. Another one might be around your question therapy that I'm head over heels for. Any parting words of wisdom from an engineering marketing standpoint for folks before we wind down? Any parting words of wisdom? We've mentioned your book. We've mentioned your podcast, your resource center on your website. Any other words of wisdom that we want to depart with before we get into your fishing?
Yeah. Just trust and authenticity. Just think about how with your marketing, you're building trust and you're being authentic to your brand in everything that you do. And it's really easy to get caught up in activities and metrics, and all that stuff's important. It's all important. But becoming, that trusted brand is so important in this industry. And so if your website looks like this dated Yugo from the 80s, but yet you're saying you're a technology
Yeah.
company, that doesn't build trust.
Yeah.
So maybe as a marketer, find those places where you have this conflict there, and use those as a jumping off point to get executive support for investment.
Absolutely love it. How about this trust and authenticity?
Yeah.
We've got Diane Beyer dropped, have a great weekend, make it as fab as all you are. Ronald says good
Ronald, yeah.
response. And so, Wendy, we've got, let's see, where'd Gary go? How about Gary's this avid fisherman up in Rochester, New
Yeah.
York. So, Wendy, you have a fishing record. You have a fishing record in the state of Texas. Do you not? Do I have that correct?
I do. And you didn't know I was going to do this, but I do have a mount of it on my wall.
All right.
I have
We've
to.
got-
It's not going to live in my office for much longer because I'm relocating it. But okay, it's not even going to look as big as the actual fish.
Oh my God.
This is my state record redfish, and can I fit it in the frame? I can't even.
Oh my goodness.
So
That
it's basically 5 feet long. And
Oh my
5
goodness.
feet long.
so,
my
so to
goodness.
put it in perspective, it was 60.5 inches, and I beat
Oh
the
my.
record by 9 inches. So these don't get that big. It was a freakish
Oh.
thing, and it was wonderful. My husband's super jealous to this day, which is
Yeah.
great to outfish your husband. I mean, that's really
Oh yeah. That's a lot of mileage right there. Cause like,
right.
because when he could be giving you a bad time, you say, who's the state record holder here?
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm just saying. So
Let's just
state
go there.
record holder right here,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You should do you have a shirt that says that? Because it would be funny if you had a shirt on and once in a while and you just had a sweatshirt on and just pulled it up and said,
yeah, they gave me a lapel pin of all things. I'm like,
that's
really?
not
I
good
should get a boat. So in Texas and Florida and in a couple other states, they have this tournament. It's called the Star Tournament. And if you catch like a tagged redfish with a special tag, you get a boat and a trailer and like maybe a gun. I don't know. And I got a lapel pin for getting the state record. It's like, what's that? So anyway, I'm gonna have that shirt made. Good suggestion.
Well, so all right, guys. And Wendy, I have one last question for you around. So first off, if you guys are sneaking off for your next call, first off, thank you for joining us today. And Wendy, before we let it, guys, you got to hang out for this one. This is the equestrian therapy that you're a part of. There's a movie that's coming out today. It's a Woody Harrelson movie. It's called Champions. And so a buddy of mine is affiliated with a nonprofit, and he's working with like some Buffalo Bills football players. And they did like this big showing last night, and they brought in just a ton of kids with adults with special needs.
Cool.
And they were zooming in these Buffalo Bills players they're called the playmakers. And so these Buffalo Bills are zooming in, talking to these young folks with challenges and like telling them how they're rooting them on and how important they are. And then they did a special screening of this Woody Harrelson movie, and it's about Woody Harrelson. These Special Olympics. It's a great movie for basketball. And as I was preparing for today, I was thinking of you with that movie. The movie, it was like a little inappropriate with the movie. I was like, but anyway, but it's fun
Woody
movie.
Harrelson after all.
Woody Harrelson,
It's
like the Farley brothers. I think they did like something about Mary. But anyway, it was a fun movie. And it was about special needs, and it was just such a wonderful, heartfelt, and just listen to these Buffalo Bills football players like rooting on these young people. It was just such a great experience. Now you do something. I can't watch a video without getting choked up. Can you talk about the equestrian therapy group that you're part of and what's going on in Austin? And I just hats off to you that you're part of this group.
Sure. Well, I feel like I'm such a minor part of it because I'm not hands-on like the experts are, but it's an equine therapy for kids with autism, physical disabilities, and they get out there and they interact with the horses, and these wonderful physical therapists have different things that they do on the horse that speaks to their needs, right? So if someone has emotional issues, it might be just brushing that horse, or if they have mobility issues, it might be sitting on the horse and doing a ring toss, where you're moving your torso and working on core strength. So there's just a million ways they use these horses in therapy, and who knew? And so it just so happens that a close friend of mine is the director of this organization, and we were so moved when we got involved. So we just volunteered. Like, we're like in the concession stand. We're helping to raise money. We're getting donations for their silent auctions. I mean, really things like that. But we're just in awe of what they do. So if you guys want to check it out, it's RED, so Red Arena. .org is the organization, and truly special. I think they serve 180 children and veterans this year. So
wow,
yeah,
it is such a powerful. Like, I can't even talk about it. Like, you
the video.
You're talking about how, like, it's totally these these young people that are just really born with, like, just special challenges that many of us things that we take for granted on a daily basis. And this horse therapy is changing these children's lives. And Wendy, God bless you. I'm grateful that you've been that I came into your world to even know that something like that exists, because I was not familiar with it. So, okay, we're going to wind down. Guys, how about if you've been sitting down listening to Wendy's brilliance for the past 50 whatever minutes it's been, if you want to stand up and stretch, how about give Wendy a big standing?
There we go.
Thank
you. For sharing her brilliance, her passion, her expertise. Wendy, I cherish your friendship. I look up to you. I admire you.
So cool.
And I am so thrilled. Again, guys, Wendy is at the Purdue University MEP Manufacturing Extension Partnership this Thursday. I dropped the link in the chat box. I've been emailing it out. Purdue's been promoting it. So, boy, if you didn't get enough of Wendy today, take a deep dive, because we're really going to get underneath the hood. Wendy, parting thoughts?
No, this has been great. I enjoyed being a second timer. So thank you for having me on.
She's a repeat offender. And hey, even Gail joined us today. Gail, thank you for joining us. Happy Friday. Yep. So, guys, I'm going to say this. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all you do. Many of you are in manufacturing. Guys, you are the heroes of our economy. We appreciate you. We salute you. And, man, just like Wendy today, go out and just be someone's inspiration, man. Just do some good, be inspiring, make great products, hug your manufacturer. Damon, take it away, brother.
All right, Kurt, thanks so much. I don't even know what to do after Wendy's talking about the equine therapy. That is an awesome thing. And what is it again, Wendy, so people can go out and look at it?
redarena.org. RED.
Yeah, redarena.org. So go check that out. But thanks everyone for being here. Thanks, Wendy, for sharing your information, and get onto their website, the TREW Marketing website. Take a look at it, because if their content is half as good as I think it is, you need to be there and taking a look at it and reaching out for help if you need to. But I also want to think and I'm getting better at that. And I want to thank everyone for being here today. I mean, look at this chat. Look at this chat.
On fire.
It's on fire. We got Whitney and Val and Inger and Sadiq and Zach, and I was trying to get over here and look at so if you don't show up in our chat, you can see I'm looking over here trying to get it on LinkedIn too. But we appreciate you stopping by every week and sharing your thoughts with us and how things are going, and really appreciate you. We'll be back again next week. We got a special guest on Monday. Wendy, my goodness.
We have she just retired. She's the director of the entire MEP network. Carol Thomas is going to be our guest on Monday, Damon. So Carol Thomas is here on Monday. We have a great guest coming up on St. Patrick's Day next week. So, guys, have a great weekend. God bless. Wendy, hang out with us for 1 second. And just keep crushing it, everybody. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. We'll be back again.